there, submarine fans. It's Eric with the subvet.com coming to you from Bottom Gun Coffee Company Studios in Aurora, Colorado. Hey, it's another great day here on 15 Minutes of Submarine Life, and we rejoin submarine veteran Judd Spitzer on part 2 of this interview, right as he gets to the USS Henry M. Jackson.
3 weeks or something like that of refit. So that's why I guess I'm thinking it must have been, because I was in I don't know, some reason I feel like when I first got to the boat I was painting within days of showing up, and then we were in off crew for a while, and then went to the boat, and then we, so I should think about this pretty seriously. I'll have to look at my qual card wherever it is, knowing the dates on there. Because I had gotten a lot of signatures in off crew, believe it or not. Uh-huh. Anything you could do in off crew, I was all about, studying.
Yeah. You were getting some of your qualifications done in off crew. So were you one of the guys that got it done in like one patrol?
I was the second person in patrol to get it done.
Boom. Okay. All right.
Boom. Yeah. There was one guy ahead of me, and he was a nuke, and we were I think that was more political than anything.
Yeah. So
I really think that they work it magic to go, okay, who's going to get to have the board, because you had to, work all of that stuff, and of course you have to bring, you have to prime the pump for your board members, because you have to make sure that there's appropriate kind of material available for your board members prior to the board. Which includes candy and reading material and all sorts of stuff.
Gee dunk and all this kind of stuff,
Yeah.
So, what about when you were qualifying? Were you so busy qualifying nobody really messed with you? Because, I've seen that before where some guys are just hitting it so hard all the time. Nobody really gives them a hard time
that would be true. I was always working on quals. At least I believe I was. But it wasn't that hard. You'd go out and they'd say, you'd have that green, I don't know if on your boat it was this way, but we had a green book piping tab.
Yeah, we had the piping tabs. I don't think they have stuff like that anymore, but yeah, we definitely had all that.
But
I was talking to somebody the other day, and I remember guys making their own books, and their books would look better. The schematics and the color pencils, it looked better than the piping tab. I was like, man, because some guys would really do it up with their studying. So,
but I really was all about it and did my watch quals and was qualified nuclear weapons security guard, and rover, and import. And weapons tech, the first patrol. I think that's what I got done, first patrol.
Right. So seniority wise, FTB. So you didn't have to do camp. Was that an MT thing at the time?
That was an MT thing. Although I did get qualified camp, even though I didn't want to.
Yeah.
Eventually
there was some guys did that.
And I was qualified launcher as well eventually.
Because I remember some guys that qualifying in fire control, not the supervisor, but the what the heck they call the assistant fire control supervisor.
Well, they didn't really have that on. You had that.
I can't remember if it was MCC Tech or something. I can't remember what it was, but I know some guys were qualifying there too if they were MT, and vice versa. Some guy come out and qualify ALOS.
So on Trident boats, you got launcher and fire control in the room together. So, so as long as somebody can come in and relieve one or the other, you got your 2-person deal. So the idea is that if you have a weapons tech who's qualified, launcher or fire control, then you've got the, that's the perfect match, because then you can do tag team.
Tag each other out.
Hey, bathroom break, coffee run.
So what you were saying that they always had to have 2 people in MCC?
Yeah.
So it was a rule. So it was mandatory. So if you had a weapons tech plus, what they call the third guy? I might have missed that part. So you had your fire control. Oh, well, you had the launcher guys in there.
Yeah, that's right. Forgetting. So launcher and fire control were the 2 that were there all the time.
So it was launcher soup, fire control soup, weapons tech, and then...
Now, the weapons tech could go anywhere. Weapons tech could go...
So he was like our ALOS on the old boat. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah. And it was great because, but then they would summons the weapons tech to control to go do bullshit things like a fire control tracking party and all these other things that had nothing to do with, doing stuff for the weapons world. But it was like, oh, we need this, and they would. I don't know. I mean, those were crazy things. You looked at that plot that you would be doing, and you'd be plotting dots, and you'd be like, they're not looking at my plot.
yeah. I remember that.
That guy's stacking dots over there.
I remember there was that. I mean, this was like a 8086 computer they had, but it was doing the fire control plots too. This computer program they had. I mean, if you look at it now, you'd think it was an old kids game or something, but that was top of the line deal back then.
they're like looking at waterfall displays and stacking dots. That's what those officers were doing. They're like, they didn't care about your solution. Like, hey, check this out. You're like, I can't even understand the dots. All I know is they tell me, put something here on this piece of paper. Okay, done.
Now, we're on like an extended show here. So, I mean, I like to keep this around 30 minutes. But no, I'm saying because I don't mind going because this is a good conversation. I think people are going to find this interesting. So we'll try not to go too much longer. But, I mean, how many patrols did you do on the Jackson? And then,
so I did.
And then the second question would be, what's some of the history of why that boat was named Jackson and wasn't named after a state?
Oh, yeah. So did 7 patrols on the Henry M. Jackson.
Okay.
Was originally going to be the USS Rhode Island, but Senator Jackson from Washington State died, and he was instrumental in submarine force, and particularly Tridents, and for the legislation for the base and things like that up over there in Bangor, and worked on some of the treaties, I think the SALT II Treaty and stuff like that. So they were like, they wanted to name something after him, and they named that submarine after him.
See, I read it was a senator, but I didn't know it was somebody with closely, with support for the submarines there in Bangor. So that makes a lot of sense. Because, I mean, there was 41 for Freedom boats doing ops out of there before Trident got in there. Weren't they using that basin in some shape or form?
I think they were doing some
like refits or something. I mean, they were out of Guam, but
they were out of Guam
and Hawaii.
But I think they did weapons moves over there. There was
something they were doing there. Yeah, so somebody it's probably done. They'll probably comment in this section of there. Oh, this is what really those guys don't know what they're talking about. And that would be true. I don't know what I'm talking about, but so you did 7 patrols and Henry M. Jackson. So, and I understand. So you've been running a website since the AOL days, I think. I mean, you've been running a Henry M. Jackson website for a long time.
USSHMJ.org. You can visit that. You can download that C-4 fighter pilot quality.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things. I keep asking you for that. Can I get that C-4 fighter pilot?
Yeah, it's there. Yeah, that was always fun. You'd get some new, I'm going to say new kid that showed up to the boat and said, oh, yeah. Well, that's what the MTs do. We drive those missiles all the way to their destination. Someone has to drop those bombs.
We used to say you take it up for a test drive. You got to test it, and then you bring it back in the tube.
Right. You see those ladders over there? That's how the C-4 fighter pilot gets into the missile.
That's how they get in. Yeah.
That's how they get in there. And if you look right here, there's where the launch window is. You've heard the CEO talk about the launch window.
The launch window. What do you think we say launch window for?
We got to clean that thing. Come on, everybody knows that.
Yeah, so I mean, I really hate it to you because you've been running that website for a long time. So, and that says a lot, and because there's a lot of boat pages out there, but how many guys have been? I remember when you started building web pages, and we were like, "Wow, you're building a web page." I remember you back in '98, I think it was. They're gonna run out of web addresses, and I couldn't even envision that. But here they come up. They got .com, .tv, .net, .gov.
They had to extend the number of domain.
It was just .com back then. That was it. Well, I think there was was there .gov or .edu?
Well, there was, but they had those were highly restricted and no one could get them. Yeah. And then you had .net and .org, which my submarine one's .org. But even those, I mean, if you wanted like eric.com, you would never be able to get that.
Yeah, because somebody obviously would have that. Yeah. But so it's Eric, whatever. So you get done with the Jackson and shore duty time. So what's Judd doing here at this point?
So Chief Dink, I don't know if you've heard this name. There's actually a chief in the Navy. His name was Dink.
I wouldn't want that name.
I know.
Nothing again, but I just wouldn't want that name.
and he was an amazing chief, let me tell you. He was great. Said, you need to go down to Cape Canaveral, and that's what you should do. And he called the detailer, and I think he definitely had a lot to do with me getting to go.
Because it's I always, and I don't know if it's like that, but it was like it was like our version of Top Gun for missile techs. I mean, you didn't just get there.
It was back in the day, but it's no longer that way.
It's not like that. It's just another place now, huh?
Well, now...
Yeah, because I had to wheel and deal. I actually extended 2 more years at sea to get that. Because, I mean, once I knew it was there, I'm going there. And I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to make it happen.
Because now the SWIFTs are the place where missile techs are in the most high demand.
Huh.
So that's the strategic weapons facilities is where they want them. So the No-2 doesn't get the pick of the litter, per se.
Anymore,
like
huh?
the best of the best. Yeah.
Wow. That's a whole nother conversation. Anyway, so you go to No-2.
Yeah, I could talk about that. Yeah, we explain a lot more about it at another time.
So he hooks you up, and that was a good deal back in the day. Going to No-2. So you get down there.
The thing about No-2 was they really, if you're a missile tech, you get to learn really about the missile, because really missile techs on the boat are not really missile techs; they're tube techs.
And that's really true.
They do install a couple of components inside a missile, but they really are not the guys who, work on all of the intricate systems like what happens at No-2. In No-2, they get to actually learn about the entire test missile itself and learn about destruct systems. They learn about instrumentation systems, telemetry, tracking, and understand missiles in ways
the whole thing. Mm-hmm.
And they send you to some really great schools that teach you soldering skills, teach you how to build cables, teach you how to do lots of skill sets.
Wire wrapping.
Yeah, wire wrapping that you don't get to learn on the boat. You go back to a boat with those skills, you're really a upgraded missile tech.
Well, a big thing I liked was having access to was Interstate Electronics at the time and the Lockheed engineers. I mean, those guys, if you want, and anytime you wanted, you could go over there. They would stay past 5:00, and these huge schematics on the wall, and they would really just go over systems with you. And I mean, you could just, if you really had an interest, they would hook you up with all the knowledge you wanted. That's what I remember. So I'm kind of getting my thing. But yeah, you're right. No-2 was, I thought it was great duty back then. So.
Mm-hmm. But everything is what you make it to be. Mm-hmm. Because if you want to be lazy and just show up and leave, you can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, there were people who were really all about, like you were talking about, trying to have competition, be the best, get the qualifications, do all the stuff that you needed to do, learning things. In fact, a friend of mine, when we were there, Carl Ortman.
Yeah, I remember Ortman.
Yeah. We worked.
I heard he passed away. Though.
He did. He passed away just within the last couple of months. And
there's somebody I told not to contact me on Facebook. Every time he contacts me, somebody passed away.
No, it was awesome. We were both second classes at the time, and we studied together, and we had classes over there in ELB where we said, "Hey, everybody who wants to come on, we're going to have a big study group, and we're going to pass this test." And me and him made first class off the test together.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's the thing. There was everybody did different things. I mean, you could do that, and people really got into college too. I mean,
yeah,
people. I mean, so everybody would really work there. So you were in the same division, and we called it the Love Division. We tried to keep certain people in there, and it was usually high caliber guys that wanted to be the best. But we did have the guys that didn't want to go all the way to the top, but like you're saying, which is fine. Everybody, no, but what was it? So you had was it ENS4? Was there another one besides ENS4? Might have been ENS4, and then you had your ENS1. So at one time, I think there was probably an ENS4, ENS3, ENS2, and ENS1.
There was a 3. We had
the 3. So
yeah.
So I remember, some guys would just qualify through that, but they didn't go to ENS1. But
right. And then,
me and you, I mean, we really want. I mean, that was our goal. We were going to be ENS1. It's just because we were. But I remember one thing: once you come in ENS1, they don't want you in the tooling. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Then all of a sudden, you don't want to be ENS1 because you want to be in with the rest of the guys tooling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it was great. I mean, I have to say I learned a lot, and it's helped me in even after I got out of the Navy, and I
Put a
did
lot
a
of
lot.
missiles downrange. So you were going to college while you were there. I don't know if you
Yeah, I did some,
And I
not as
remember there's
much as
one
I
thing
did
you were
after.
doing, which I know has helped you out because you can tell during this podcast, how Judd is. But there's an organization called Toastmasters. So you want to tell
Mhm.
us about Toastmasters? A lot of people don't know about it, believe it or not.
Sure. Toastmasters is a public speaking and leadership organization. It's international, worldwide. Anybody can join right now. They're meeting. A lot of the meetings are actually virtual, so
Mm-hmm.
you can find a club and find maybe a Zoom link or something. Uh, they will be meeting again in person, but they do figure out who the best speaker of the world is. They have competitions. You can be the president and learn organizational skills, things of that nature. So it's great.
When you were in it, we kind of gave you a little grief about it. But I was volunteer career specialist for my church for many years, and I always thought back Toastmasters is a big deal if you want to advance in your career. Because it really helps you out. Because a lot of people have a problem with public speaking doesn't mean in a theater. You're in with a boardroom table and you got 5 people. Some people just can't. They might be the smartest people in the world, but they can't put thoughts together because it's just that apprehension speaking in front of people. So
Yeah,
I
and
highly
you get a
recommend it.
chance to speak on your feet because someone's going to ask you that question,
Yeah.
and you're going to be like, but now you have practice making the gears in your head go. I can come up with something, and I will put that out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've recommended a bunch of people. I said, you need to go get you some Toastmaster experience, if you're
Yeah.
a little shy. It teaches you lots of skills. So that's a good thing you did there. So
Yeah.
you finished your graduate. What'd you get your undergraduate in?
So I just got a liberal arts degree from Charter Oak State College, which is out of Connecticut, accredited.
Uh-huh.
Used my military experience and did CLEPs and took classes at Eastern Florida and put it all together and got a degree in. It's basically communications.
Yeah. So you finished your degree, but during the same time, I don't know where you made that transition into reserve. If you can talk about that for a few
Oh,
minutes.
sure. Right after I got out of at NO2, became a civilian, and I was a super civilian for all of
That's right. You got out of the Navy at that point. That's what I meant.
2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I applied, went to the reserve center, and got in the reserves about 2 months later. So I had that moment where I was nothing. I was, like 30 years old, and I was out.
Were you able to keep E6 when you went reserve?
I did.
Because you always hear guys that, they have to take a step back when they, well, maybe that's when you join another service branch. Maybe not the reserve.
That could be.
What famous rate did you get? You got a real important, sophisticated rate. Not to make fun of them.
They had nothing. No, so I was made a bosun's mate initially.
Yeah.
Which I was like, this is bullshit.
And I know I joke about, but I mean, did you learn anything about bosun's mate? Well, I mean, what?
No,
nothing.
No.
So you were bosun's mate just briefly, huh?
Yeah, and then had some problems there, which let me. It actually worked out in my favor because then I became an IT, which I should have been from the get-go.
Now that wasn't a rate when we were in the Navy, right? Was that something new that they came up with?
It was new. It was they took radium in and made the IT rate. They took radium in and ETs, and basically if you were a data processor, DPs,
right?
DPs, certain ETs, and RMs, depending on their NECs and stuff, and they converted them all to IT.
Oh, okay, I see. So and you retired from the reserve when?
As an IT-1 in 2008.
2008. Okay. So would that been 20 years? Yeah, that's right. Because you joined in '88. Yeah. Man, it goes by so quick. I can't believe how long. It just seems like yesterday, actually, that we were in the office over there, 51 and NO2. It just doesn't seem that long ago. That's crazy. Yeah. And, so now, and I know when you got in the Navy, you were working for different companies out there supporting the Space Intercourse, and I know you've enjoyed that. You've done different launch activities out there, different companies and stuff. So you're still doing that kind of stuff, kind of work.
I do.
Work in aerospace, yeah. So, Yeah, I mean, so there was that low in when the space shuttle went away, and everybody got kind of laid off, especially from the space shuttle program. So did you see everything come back with SpaceX? I mean, it's really did a lot of new people move into the area, or were people that got laid off were able to take those new jobs? Just wondering.
Well, interesting. I don't know that. I think a lot of people left the area
because I remember a lot of people just moved because you had to.
They did.
Yeah.
They just moved, and then a lot of people, just took other local type jobs. There's other contractors here in Brevard County. Boeing had other work down in Melbourne area. There were a number of contractors down there.
Right.
Northrop Grumman. What is the big one? Harris is down there. There was a whole bunch of companies. So they took some people. Orlando has a lot of high-tech jobs over there in East Orlando. So,
and it's not just high-tech. I mean, me being career counselor. I mean, anything you can think of. If you're good at HVAC, they need you in the Space Center. I mean, it was Johnson Controls at the time. It could be somebody else.
Yeah, it's changed, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just when I go on and because I look at the boards, just different. I just pick at different companies, and there's a lot of job opportunities. If you want to go work at the Space Center and be a part of the fun of putting people into space and putting satellites up there, by all means, you got to do it. Well, Judd, I appreciate you coming to the podcast. Got to wrap this up here. I mean, we've gone extended. I'd like to invite you back for another, another podcast that I have. Where you can spend some more time. Because usually I try to keep this one short. But I appreciate you coming on 15 Minutes of Submarine Life. And, of course, it was past 15 minutes. So, the whole thing about 15 minutes is 15 minutes of fame. I just want to give people a chance to talk about, make them feel famous a little bit. So it's not really – it was not meant to be 15 minutes. It's just, call it 15 minutes of fame, 15 minutes of submarine life. So just give you your chance to stand out and say, hey, this is what I did. And you definitely did that. I really appreciate it. We had a good conversation here. So you're going to be able to go on bottomguncoffeecompany.com and pick yourself out a coffee. We're going to send that to you for being on today's podcast, and we appreciate it. And this show is sponsored by Bottom Gun Coffee Company, and we would like you to go on there and take a look at our coffee selections. We have some flavored coffee selections right now, along with decaf. So we're always changing things, and we got some swag on there. So we encourage you to go check it out and try our coffee. And then when you do try it, please go online and give us a comment, give us a shout out. What you think of the coffee, and we'd appreciate it if you do that. Once again, this is Eric with 15 Minutes of Submarine Life. And if you'd like to be on the show, please email me at eric@thesubvet.com, and we'll get you scheduled for your 15 minutes of fame on the Subvet.
This podcast was brought to you by Bottom Gun Coffee Company, the taste that's qualified.